Yeah, I am. Yeah. Okay. Okay, messed with all the mics. And it's actually like really important not to mess with those. No, I think I'm gonna blame it on Eileen Moss. No, Lane. We should blame it on Lane. Sorry, we got like 30 seconds. I can't start. There we go. Welcome to the Fruit Heights City Council meeting. My name is John Pullman, Mayor of the City of Fruit Heights. We are starting this meeting with an anchor location at 910 South Mountain Road, Fruit Heights, Utah, 4037. We're going to begin this meeting with actually, before we begin, thanks for coming tonight. It's so nice to have residents here at the City Council meeting. And we welcome you to the meeting tonight. We're going to begin this meeting with a pledge of allegiance to be led by Mark, and then I will say prayer. Would you all please rise?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, we bow our heads giving thanks for this day. We're very grateful for this community that we have to live in and for the bounties of life that we have to enjoy. We're very grateful for thy hand and the creation of this world and for the blessing it is to be a part of it. We're very grateful for this opportunity to meet as a community. We ask thee to help us to listen. We're very grateful again for those who work here and have used this as their employment. Please help us to be able to do what is best for those in this community. We say these things in Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. We're going to move on to item number 1.3, which is roll call. Haley?
Councilmember Gary Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Mark Butler.
Here.
Councilmember Eileen Moss.
Here.
Councilmember Joe Gray.
Here.
Councilmember Lawrence Sutton. Here. Mayor John Holmes.
Here. Great. We're going to move on to item number 1.4. We put these on our agenda. It's a 3-minute time that one of the elected officials has to train us on our responsibilities as an elected official. Tonight's training is going to be done by Councilmember Joy Gray. You have 3 minutes on the clock.
Thank you. One of the things that we talked a little about the last little bit is water rates and fees. I grabbed our powers and duties manual, but I would read a few thoughts on water rates. It suggests the general rule of law is that all rates and fees must be reasonable and that it is required by the Constitution. Connection fees for water systems are complicated because of impact fees. The Act defines a hookup fee as a reasonable charge for connecting to the water system, which does not exceed the approximate average cost to the city or town for the actual physical connection to the system. In other words, our hookup fee should not be a profit center for our town. Any connection charges over and above the hookup fee, by definition, an impact fee. All impact fees must be established in strict accordance with the Impact Fees Act. This act requires certain studies, public hearings, and procedures. These include regulations controlling and accounting for and the use of the monies collected. It goes on to suggest while the rates and charges for water services must be reasonable, and municipalities will be given very broad discretion by a court in our decision as to what a reasonable fee is. And courts have held that the rates charged by cities as presumptively valid and that any person who challenges the rates carries a heavy burden to show that these rates are unreasonable or discriminatory. It goes on, a municipality may establish different rates for different classifications of retail customers within the municipality's designated water service area if the rates and classifications have a reasonable basis. A reasonable basis for charging different rates for different classifications may include, among other things, a situation in which there is a difference in the cost of providing a service to a particular classification. One classification bears more risk in relation to a system operation or obligation. Retail customers is one classification invested in or contributed to acquire a water source or supply or build or maintain a system differently than retail customers in another classification. The needs or conditions of one classification are distinguishable from the needs or conditions of another classification, and based on economics, public policy, or other identifiable elements support a different rate, or there is a differential between the classification based on a cost of service standard or a generally accepted rate setting method, including a standard or method the American Water Works Association establishes. One last little piece is said there can be difference for differing areas of a community if there is a rational basis for having a different rate. So as we consider our water rates, those are some of the things that the manual suggests that we should consider.
I love it. Thank you. May I ask your permission next, City Council, do you mind if I do the training? I decided not a training. There's a law that was passed last legislative session about and clearly defined open public meetings. I'd love to do a quick 3-minute training on that if you guys don't mind. Direct to you guys.
Of course.
Hey, can you put me on for next City Council meeting? Thank you. Let's go on to item number 2, which is a conflict of interest. Do we have any this evening to discuss? Seeing or hearing, we're going to move on to item number 3, which is a public comment period. We put these on all our agendas to allow public to present anything they'd like to the City Council. Do we have a Michael Lambert?
Yes.
You sent me an email. Would you like to come first?
Sure.
Maybe you might just come up to the podium.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome. If you would just please state your name to the microphone so we can.
Yes. Absolutely. My name is Michael.
Hold on.
Check.
Yep.
Okay, great. Yes, my name is Michael Lambert, and I'm actually a Langton resident. I'm here today to introduce myself. I'm an officer locally, so I want to address you, Mayor, and the City Council, and any of the residents that are attending. So I am the unaffiliated bipartisan candidate for the Dix County Commission, and I've been going to as many City Council meetings as I can to meet people and get to know our county better. And one of the reasons I'm running as an unaffiliated candidate, which I had to go a signature route to do that this last winter, from hundreds of residents here and registered voters here in the county, which was a wonderful experience. But I've been concerned, I think like a lot of people, about the increasing divisiveness and polarization of politics. And that's why I believe in bipartisan message as an unaffiliated candidate. And one thing I appreciate about local governments, city governments, county governments is sometimes it is less partisan. Sometimes the races are more partisan, and there's more spirit of unity. And so I professionally am a licensed clinical social worker. So for the past 20 years plus, I've worked with young people and families and parents, and I know those values here in Dix County are very important, and they're important to me. I co-chair a local school community council in Layton, a local elementary, and some of the relevant functions of the county around my experience include the health departments, partnerships with mental health, including AIDS, behavioral health. I also care a lot about our aging adult population, which some of which receive services through the county. I also care a lot about conservation and the Great Salt Lake and our air quality. I appreciate your dedication to the mention of our opportunity to be here on the earth and peace, gratitude, and service. Just really grateful to be here. I hope to get to know more people. I'll for any questions, and thank you so much for your time and your service here for us.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you for your time. Do we have anyone else that would like to present anything tonight? We have Mr. Terry Smith on the agenda. He's going to be presenting. This does not cover that, so if anyone has anything else they'd like to present, please come forward.
Thank you. My name is Matt Hanson. I live on Hollywood Drive. I appreciate all of your service and also time that you're putting into these responsibilities that you have. I would just like to make a quick comment on the last hearing that you had. I wasn't able to attend. I was able to watch it later. There was a discussion in regards to student ordinances as far as the setback goes. I'd like to make a comment on that. If the planning commission does put forward a new ordinance to allow for private setback, I just like this group to strongly consider that. When I watched it, it was my impression, I may be wrong, but this group was just really discussing it. There was not really, I guess in my opinion, a strong reason why it was 8 feet. It seemed rather subjective based on the strongest argument seemed to be that other cities have that same case. But I think it's important for this body, you know, and I know we did, but I guess I'll ask you to consider certainly lots in West Kaysville and other areas are much different than the lots of guys and topography of guys. And I think that there's ordinance that prohibits use of, I guess, the proposed use of the land. They should be strictly viewed in favor of the proposed use of the land. Unless there is a strong reason to not do so. Now, it may change, but I do not think that this group is for that for some reason did not go to 5 feet, I guess in my opinion. And I just ask you to, if it comes forward, to, I guess, give a strong consideration.
Thank you, Jansen. Do we have anyone else? Let's see your hearing. We're going to move on to some presentations. First, YCC. I didn't see them here tonight. I don't know. I have no reason why they wouldn't be here. Not seeing them here, unless it's them walking in. Okay, that'd be fun. Nope. We're going to move on to the Farmington Fire reports. Chief Love, would you like to come forward, please? Thank you for your service, Chief. We appreciate all you do.
Thank you, Mayor, and I appreciate the opportunity to give this report. Thank you, Council, Mayor, and citizens here. I'm Rich Love. I'm the Fire Chief for Farmington City and Fire City. And we have been asked to give a report on our second quarter responses into your city. So in the 3 months that the second quarter consists of, we ran 35 calls into my city. Of those, we had the case who did not respond instead of us at any time during that 3-month period. They did come to assist us on some calls where we may need some help. Some things are going to maybe change a little bit. They have gone to the program countywide where all of the paramedic units now have GPSs in them, and they are going to start calling for the nearest paramedic unit on certain calls, life-threatening calls that are really time-sensitive, such as arrests, drownings, pregnancy, births, things like that. And so there are areas in your city where the Kaysville paramedic unit will be paged before us. And so you can start seeing some of that. Our ambulance will still be in line responding to the calls. And our medics will probably come as well. Our average in route times from the time we're paged until our apparatus actually leave the station or en route to your city is has been 1 minute and 56 seconds. And that includes all times of the day, which includes calls that are in the middle of the night, where guys have to get dressed and go. So, I'm pleased with our response times, as far as our amount times in our areas in the city that it takes us a few minutes to get to. So our arrival times are hovering around 8 minutes to actually arrive. Other than that, there's a couple of things that I did kind of want to mention that is pertinent, but not part of that quarter, but during the month of July, we spent quite a bit of time in Food High City patrolling over the 4th and the 24th. And we've got a total of 144 man hours. That's 2 people. So what we had was 36 hours that we patrolled our city for the 4th of July, and the same on the 24th, and that was with 2 man crews. And so we've done that, and we've also participated in senior food events as well. We feel like we have a good relationship with your city manager and with the citizens of your city, and we are always open to any questions, concerns, or anything that you might have. Feel free to address those with us at any time. We're available, and we're willing to talk about anything that you might have concern about. Are there any questions?
Yes. Any concerns or any issues with the 4th of July fireworks, hillsides, grassy areas that could have been
You
prevented?
know, we're in urban interface, Fruit Heights and Farmington. It's always a big concern for us, especially there are a lot of people that go up on the east bench to watch the fireworks. And we did have one incident this year in Fruit Heights where one of the citizens was lighting off some fireworks on that new part of the road that you guys put in up there. But we happened to be there and we were able to talk to them about it, make sure they didn't continue doing that. It's always a concern, simply because we built right up to where the fires would be. And we get those downslope winds in the evening, and any fire that's burning on the hill is a real concern for us. Should be for you guys as well.
The fire level again last week was pretty high. What was the cause of that?
It was a lightning strike. That night, actually, we had 3 fires that were caused by that lightning storm that came through. We had one on Compton Bench, one down by the freeway, and then one up in Mud Creek. We did not send firefighters up to the one that was in Mud Creek. That was on National Forest ground. And we contacted the state and the Forest Service on that one. And they told her we were involved in the command, and we also housed them at one of our city parks. At one time, they had a little 50 people up there working on that fire. So we found accommodations for them and those kinds of things. They fought the fire.
So, I assume you guys look at lessons learned from places like the fire that was in Hawaii last year when they knew that there were winds coming and didn't respond to that. I assume you study those kinds of things and
Yeah, we do, and I've been in Farmington Fire for 38 years. My battalion chief is there with me, Gary McCoy. He's been with the city for, 36 years here? And so we've been a part of a lot of those fires. And there are lessons to be learned, and there are sometimes things that we see as residents and long-time residents of this area that sometimes the Forest Service and the state aren't aware of. And one of those things are the downslope winds. You can predict it's going to happen every time. And so, we are able to put our 2 cents in and work with those guys. But ultimately, when it's a fire that's in their jurisdiction, they pretty much have to say as to how they're going to fight the fire. Our main concern as a fire department, myself as chief, is that we don't let those fires encroach on the homes and the neighborhoods that are along our bench. So if we get in a situation where we've got a bigger fire like that and it's anywhere near threatening town at all, we're going to respond with our apparatus, with our engines, and our brush trucks and stuff, and be ready to stop it if it does come down. That's kind of our main responsibility.
Thank you, Chief Love. We appreciate all your work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next presentation is from Terry Smith.
Thanks, I'm Terry Smith. Any of you were here last meeting, let's see, but I just need comments. I appreciate the way to come. We live in the greatest city in the world, I think. But there's some points of discussion. Obviously, you know where I'm at. It's 177 South Mountain Road, we have a slide, the Tanners, our backyard of E6. Where are the reports from the engineer? We don't have anything still. It's ridiculous. Where is the accountability for the city and the developer out there? There's been no accountability. Why was the land of our property noted for future development allowed to be developed, misdeveloped? Why? That wasn't supposed to be touched. It wasn't permitted, it wasn't supposed to be touched. And moving forward, what about mitigation so it doesn't happen again to the Hunts, or the Tanners, or the Smiths? What happens when that comes? I know there's a development agreement, but who's going to police that HOA takes care of the water up there? They cannot retain the water. I talked to the engineer that did the inspection on August 29th. They cannot retain water up there. But yet it's being retained and going into the ground. And the inspection from the state on number 3, this is an inspection report from the state of Utah. Number 3, stormwater controls were not designed and installed in accordance with good engineering. Where's the accountability? Number 5, inadequate measures to minimize the disturbance of steep slopes were observed on the site. We had a steep slope on our back hillside. Nothing was done. Number 6, stabilization measures were not implemented and maintained to minimize erosion from exposed soils on the site. Again, not done. Number 8, site inspections not conducted at least once every 7 calendar days, once every 14 calendar days, within 24 hours of storm event. I was awake last night, listening to the rain at 4 in the morning, wondering if my hill was coming down at the house in the back of our property was getting flooded. The inspection required for the permit. There's an inspection required for the permit. Why was the job allowed to continue? The inspections were being done. They should have been shut down. Any other state, large state, they would have been shut down. But yet nothing was done. You go farther into this report. You go into the failure to apply for notice of termination, failure to conduct inspections, failure to develop any hazard SWEP, failure to implement SWEP, failure to maintain it, failure to monitor, failure to properly operate EMPs, failure to properly install EMPs, failure to submit required report, failure to submit required permit information, failure. I feel like the city is failed. Who's going to take care of this when we come? You know, the city can use governmental immunity, but not when there's negligence. There's negligence. It's right here from the state of Utah. The city has not held Matlow and Smithstone homes in compliance, and for that reason, they're creating a very litigious environment. The city is at risk. I'd like some answers to all of those if you can.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, where are you going?
Oh, no one understand.
No,
Okay.
you're on the agenda, dude.
Okay.
You're not just a 3-minute public comment.
Oh, I thought you just missed me after 3 minutes.
No, you're not just sitting driving and run away with your telling. Terry, thanks for following the process to get on the agenda. It's a privilege to have you in here. Thank you for all you do.
I appreciate that.
So a couple things. I think we could have an open and candid conversation of what do you want to have happen? What do you see happen?
One, there needs to be something done so it's not somebody else out here that's having their backyard slide off the mountain. Matt has done nothing. Absolutely nothing. That ground has been stripped clean. And now, because of the state board, they have changed everything up there. Because they had to, because he was going to shut them down. They have 7 days. They have changed all their water control. They've got walls, they've got silt fencing, which they never had. I can't believe Gary didn't do something, he was over on a terrace, don't I mean, mud flow coming down that numerous times. Obviously, the only reason that hill has moved is because of that development. And under the development, a city is supposed to protect adjacent property from being damaged. It hasn't been done. So what's gonna be done? What's gonna force Matt to do anything?
You're still ranting. Can we talk?
Yes, I am, because I am very passionate, because it's my backyard. It's not yours. It's my backyard.
So what do you see happening? What would be the best outcome for you?
One, I want to mess cleaned up, my hillside fixed, and some sort of mitigation, so it's not gonna happen in the future. I mean, Matt's fine, I talked to him, people let his kids out there in the west season, I don't want my kids out there. I can't allow them near the hillside when we're back. Because they've taken all the vegetation away, and there's nothing to keep the water from soaking into that ground and floating out the hill. I told Aaron and I told you that the day that slid, I was out there because Lauren Tanner said the hill started to slide. There was water coming out of the bottom of the hill. And I told you, I didn't know I could move that fast. I was out there and I heard a big crack, and I thought it was coming down then. But I didn't. And then when Aaron went out there, the water had stopped. I talked to the contractor, he said, oh, you're fine. And then about 5 o'clock that evening, it went, because it was loading up the hillside because they were not controlling their water. Got video, got pictures, it's just, what's gonna be done in the future? I mean, yeah, there's going to be an HOA up there, but who's going to monitor the HOA that they're being watched on how much water is putting in the ground? Because it will happen again, I guarantee you. And maybe it's gonna be Matt, maybe it's gonna be Manny's, maybe it's, who knows whose yard is gonna be next. Who knows if somebody's gonna have to be killed, and then what? So I am very passionate, I am ranting a little bit. So what's going to be done?
What would you like to see happen?
I think there needs to be some sort of land drain on the edge of that hill to control the water.
Okay.
I think that's a good solution, but Matt Lowe's not going to want to take that. And it wasn't in the agreement, it wasn't in the plans, but obviously, he's not following the plans.
The developer needs to be stopped because he's failed to comply with the agreement he agreed to abide by. There needs to be a cease and desist.
He has not been. He should have been shut down numerous times.
Okay.
100%.
Also some accountability from the developer to repair the property in that, and. How much of your backyard did you lose this?
What?
How much of the flat of your backyard did you lose? It's a guess, I know, because you can't go back and measure.
I've probably got 80 loads, dump truck loads to get out of there. 80. And
But would you want it moved at this point?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanna understand, just because
The
I
town
think
does
if you take it out, does it make it steeper back there, and does that seem to get scary? That's what I'm asking.
I told John earlier, that ground hasn't been touched since the work day. And now what? Now what? How's it gonna be fixed? I don't know. How's it gonna be fixed? It needs to be removed. I don't want that in my backyard.
It's
If I had no choice, I'd take the dump trucks and dump it in Matt Lowe's front yard. And see how he looks.
Terry, this is the second reference in one day I've heard about the good Lord from your mouth.
Yes.
I love you, Terry. You're a good man.
They can't fix it because the water situation on the above has not been managed. And so Terry and Russ don't want to proceed fixing it because it's just gonna keep coming down until the developer is held responsible and accountable to implement the safety things that he was supposed to do when he started that development. The water is going to keep coming down.
Mayor, don't we have the power to not issue a single home permit to these people?
We have a lot of authority, yes.
So let's don't. Don't issue a single building permit until we get a resolution. That'll get him to do something.
So I will do this, Terry, since.
Well, 100%, until there's a solution, I don't know how you can move forward. Even with people that are buying lots up there, how do you not let them know that there's an issue? I don't want somebody's house in my backyard, because that's what's gonna happen. What's gonna control pools, sheds? I mean,
Development agreement covers all that, you know that.
but who's gonna control that? Who's gonna control that?
They, in the development agreement, which you read, I told you, right?
I read every page. Every page.
But the developer has failed to follow the development agreement, so we have to have faith and trust in that agreement.
I will get back in touch with you. I will get involved with this, and I will work with the attorneys and find out what the solutions are.
Well, I mean, John, I know we talked, but moving forward, you say we've got the HOA and the development agreement, but he hasn't been placed in the development, so who's gonna police the HOA?
It's a third party, it's already under contract.
Well,
It's not the same, it's not the same as the developer.
and the permit is the permit, and he's been out of compliance with the permit, he should have been shut down, I don't know how many times. A month ago, when we had a Harris Drive, he should have been shut down.
And doesn't the city have responsibility there?
The average lifespan of an HOA is approximately 20 years.
Nope.
So they do will not dissolve.
It's indefinite, it's in the development agreement, it's on
The
every plat.
average lifespan, I'm not saying that this one will say what has to, but in 20 years, you have an entirely different city that's being run.
But that's not run through the city. That is a third-party contract that HOA has to pay for.
But don't you feel that the city is partially responsible for allowing these kind of permits in the first place? When these things weren't met in the first place, if you go back and you have the geotech that came and told you that piece of land was weak, and they said it, and they said, don't build anything there, don't do anything there, so they changed the plans, and they said, okay, we're gonna make it so that we have this gigantic backyard right there. And then we're gonna make it so nobody builds there, and we're gonna say, don't build there. And then the first place this guy that's developing out there changes is that very weak point. Not only that, he dug it out, it retained water, it caused problems, which was up to the city to check. It's in your guys' bylaw or whatever your rules are for building. It's in there, and you guys didn't do it. So if partially you guys were a little bit lax in whatever you were supposed to do, then it makes perfect sense that he expects a better answer from an accountable city, because part of the issue is you guys didn't hold yourselves or the developer accountable.
So I'm listening to what you're saying,
Okay,
and I am empathetically listening, because I feel like there's a lot of fear. of
there's
not
not
knowing.
fear, there's frustration. I think you're misunderstanding.
And there's damage.
Okay, well,
If that will continue,
so
That's a life dream.
I'm going to end this, actually, because I have that authority. Like, there's nothing productive, I have nothing I can tell you, because I don't have the information to tell you. If you,
Why not? The landslide
I
happened in
don't have the
Ontario 2
information.
years ago.
I don't have the information, that's it, I don't have the information. If you want to keep ranting, you can, it's great, I'll take it, but I can't tell you anything.
Okay, can I just ask one question? What do you feel like in approving that development and everything? What do you feel like the city's responsibility is when there's development happening in the community? What do you feel like this body of people, what do you think your responsibility is there? Do you feel like you have no responsibility?
No, I think we have a lot of responsibility, and I will state the fact that that development did get passed very quickly. That was an 8.5-year process to get that development approved. That wasn't something that happened quickly. That went through a 7-year, 8-month geotechnical analysis and reanalysis and reanalysis. Like, there's a 600-page document you can read one night if you want. Like, it's not something we just flippantly said, go build. It's been through the analysis. And to sit here and say that we didn't do our job and we're now liable, like, I think it's very offensive, but I understand the situation you're in.
Well, but who do you feel is responsible to hold, the developer accountable? Whose responsibility is that?
So the development agreement is holding him responsible.
The developer's
The
responsibility?
development agreement that we as a city engaged him to allow him to build.
Okay, and who enforces that?
That's a city's responsibility, but it's also gonna go back to an attorney's responsibility, who we hire. So
Do you feel like the developer has upheld his part in that
So-
development agreement?
I will say that I can't say, I don't know. I don't know well enough, I'm not a developer,
Even with this report that says failure, failure, failure
so
to
that's a
comply?
state audit, correct? That's a state committee.
Because no one else will do it.
The state came in and assessed us. We've gone through as a city 2 audits in the last 2 years. We're fine, we're compliant as a city. You can laugh all you want, Matt Swain, but really, what are you gonna do?
Well, really, you don't feel
I
like
did
you're
that.
getting
That's
that?
what I
Really?
did.
Happy.
That was me.
What's up?
That report was because of me.
Great, thank you.
Because the MS4, the responsibility that this city has, was not upheld. It hasn't been for years.
So we as a city passed our state water audit. Do you wanna talk to Ted Perry about that?
I don't care about the city. We're talking about the specific SWIP on this project.
You as an individual keep on calling the state and requesting audits on the city. The city keeps passing the audits from the state.
And so okay, what you're saying is contradictory. If you passed, how did the state issue a failure on 13 counts? And then the SWIP was dramatically changed from the way it's been for the last 2 years.
Okay.
I'm sorry, that's in complete contradiction. The statement does not hold logic. Doesn't make sense.
Right.
It failed. And it changed.
Go ahead, Darren.
So I want you to know, it wasn't the state that required all those changes. The city went up and we went through and we've had many discussions about all the different inspections. And as you know, as a developer, you probably hired a company to do all your SWIP programs for you. And you go through, do your inspection. There's issues, you mark those issues, they have so many days to have those issues completed. If they complete those issues, they pass them, right? Yes or no? Matt, it's a yes or no, it's not a smile, it is, yes or no? It is, as you go through, because you say, here's these things, you need to go through and fix those issues.
Darren, I'm sorry, but you're telling me that that's so damning, I can't even tell you. You told me that you passed
the SWIP inspections for the last 2 years?
So,
And then all of a sudden, we see within 7 days of the state issuing failure that they changed it dramatically?
our report went to the state
That
before
was-
them, Matt.
I'm sorry?
Our report has been to the state before them and said, here is what we have going on.
Then why did they change it so dramatically within days?
Because then the state came up like 4 days later.
Because I sent them information that told them.
You're right, you did say it, and they came up, Jordan came up and did do an inspection. We had already gave them the deadline for things.
Well, then I'm sorry, but your enforcement powers are not holding any water because nothing ever changed.
That was it, sorry, that's fine.
Thank you, that was a dad joke.
Yes,
I'm good at those.
thanks. Mr.
Nothing
Stein.
changed for 2 years. So I'm sorry, but if you think you're enforcing and nothing changes, and then a higher authority that does this across the state and does have the police powers to enforce, not only the developer, but the city, who's an MS4, who's responsible to be enforcing that directly, and in this case, has not, based upon the study that was just done, then I'm sorry. Those are the facts. And logic leads me to believe that this city was not enforcing the SWIP properly, as evidenced by the water flows. We're not on a third world country. We shouldn't have mud flows flowing hundreds of yards down onto the off-ramp, carrying cobble the size of softballs. Okay? I'm sorry. If you feel like that is in compliance with your
No, we
city,
didn't say that wasn't compliant.
then why has it been going on for 2 solid years with no change?
And we have done things and there have
We
been.
have not. It's happened over and over and over
So,
again.
this is a great opportunity. Great opportunity real quick. Next year's an election cycle.
You've already.
Mayor,
invited
don't
us to that.
distract the
I am
discussion.
telling you the facts.
Thank you.
We have-
You've invited us.
I would love, if you guys know more, please get involved. We have 2 open vacant seats and a mayor's seat. Please get involved.
We don't care about
We're not
elections,
here
we
for
care about
elections.
solutions to the obvious problem.
Okay? I will get back in touch with you.
You said that 2 years ago, Mayor.
You guys
2
are
years
taking,
ago.
taking all of our property values down.
Absolutely. We
Our
just want
property
some
values
help
do
from our
not
city.
go for what they used to be.
We just want some help from our city to reinforce what the developer is supposed to be doing. We want your help.
I agree.
We know that you're not paid a lot of money, that this isn't prestigious, but I think that you probably got involved in the positions you're in because you want a good community.
Right.
And you want to input good things into the community. We can't do this alone. We need the city behind us. And all we're asking is for you to bring Matt Lowe to accountability, to repair the damages, and to make sure that everything up in that development, the water is contained appropriately. That's all we're asking for.
I will do that. Those are very direct requests, and I will follow up on them.
In what time?
I don't know.
We're entering the wet season. We've had a mudslide every year since the development began. We can't afford to wait. We've been told that there were geotechnical studies, blah, blah, blah. Where are they? We haven't seen anything.
And when they proposed the development over there, they say they wasn't touching the end of the top of the hill. They will stay behind and put a fence to a grid line right there, so they will don't touch and they come all the way to the end. And the city, Derek, you was here in that meeting when I come here, and they say that they supposed to be giving reports. Doesn't matter if that was a third party, but they have to submit reports to the city. Right?
Right, they do.
And what are they at?
And I just received a letter from them and I sent it out to our engineer and our geotech.
When after 2 years, the development is done.
After the first time, and after this last season.
Okay.
Terry, I'll be in touch with you. I'll contact you on a weekly basis.
Well, just one last thing, I mean, part of their stuff is dust control. Probably every day. My wife's got so many videos and texts, they never did. Part of their stuff and their permit is dust control, they never did anything. That just tells me they were in non-compliance just for that. Why were they shut down? That's a valid question. Why were they not shut down? And now we're here. And then I don't mean, I'm passionate because it's in my backyard.
I agree.
I mean, it's destroying my backyard. And Matt Lowe is not gonna wanna take care of it. I told you, I had a conversation with him a couple of days after the fact, and he offered to haul it away at a discounted price. He's not responsible. That's all.
Thank you. We're gonna move back to the YCC report. We have YCC ladies who showed up, who's one stepping up and.
Music Council, I'm Julie Wright. So for the Founders Day, YCC, we did a face painting for, all of us really enjoyed these paintings and it was really good. And, for September, like I said, we were planning on doing a sound fair this Saturday. It's really nice. And then right after that, we're gonna, pass out public works, stormwater and education flyers.
Excellent. So two things. What you guys did with Founders was fantastic. You guys, as a youth, ran it beautifully. We have had nothing but compliments of how the youth just did that. When more people showed up to the face painting, like you just shifted people, and then when more people were playing with stuff, like you. So as a youth, as the youth city council responsibility with Founders Day, that's not gonna work out awesome. Thank you for all you do. I wanted to ask what's going on with the haunted olive?
That was the next thing.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so we're, people in charge want city council and correct city council to on the drive, which would be like, and they also are asking the city council to actors in the council, yeah, and we're painting some crops and stuff.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much, ladies. Thanks for coming in. Is there anything we can do for you? Okay. Thank you. Thanks for coming out. We're going to move on to item number 5.1. Landslide and rock off development. So we have obviously heard from the residents. And I really actually appreciate the last comment of very directly what can be done. I think with the city council, that's the least that we can do to find out where we are. But this will obviously have to go through Darren and Lane. We'll probably go up to the attorneys, and then we can find out what needs to be done and how we can act. That's not something we as a governing body can just like storm in there and just get going.
Can we ask Darren for a little more background on this?
Yeah, this is part of the discussion item.
But, I mean, Darren, you've been thrown into the task of enforcing some of this and assessing penalties. So I wondered if you could take us through the city's actions in a timeline a little bit.
So I'll agree with the residents, this has been going on for a couple of years, different issues. I will tell you, with the inspection of the SWIP, it's drawn up by an engineer. And then it's implemented by a company that Matt will hire to keep things up and going. There's times it works great, and then there's areas that fail. And those areas fail. Ted is inspecting that area. That's part of his position. He goes through and does an inspection just like the state did. And if he sees things that are out of order or things that fail, it's usually these things need to be fixed within 7 days. If they're major, you can say they need to be fixed within 2 days. And then they got that opportunity to go in and fix it per our old ordinance. And as he's done that, he's has to document everything. He's required to send a lot of those reports to the state so that they can be reviewed to make sure we're doing portions that we're supposed to be doing. We have fine block off for different things. And we've also, there's some things that they still have to finish up from different actions that have been taken by the city. This last inspection, when they started going through and installing all this stuff, we just finished up our state audit for the city. And part of that state audit was the city doing an inspection on that whole site, from one end to the other, and then it's compared to the state doing the same inspection. We actually had more items that we felt that needed to be repaired as they went, and because things that had changed. A couple of the items were they didn't have an updated SWIP program, and not saying it's not updated, it wasn't available at that time. So a SWIP is a document that continues to grow. So if there's things that have to be changed, it should be amended.
So if something fails, then you.
Yeah, and so if it's inspected and it's failed, they have to amend that in their SWIP program and show that, hey, we did some changes here. They move a porta potty. It's supposed to be, we move this porta potty from this area to this area, and this is what we did. All those things are in that program, and they show up in the amendment.
Who is the driver for change in the SWIP?
So I will tell you, with the SWIP program, the city will not go in and say, these are the things you have to change, and this is what you need to do to fix it. Because the minute a city or even the state will not do that, even though, there's things that get done. If we go in and say, these things aren't working, this is what we want you to put here, and then they fail, that liability at that time now is 100% on the city.
So you can do the first part of the statement, these things fail.
Yes, you need to fix these, and so then they either come in with a different option. I will tell you, the last big rainstorm, when all the blocks ended up down on the thing, that was a BMP they tried to put in place to control the water and control the river from running down on the best management practice. And that rain came down and picked all those rocks up and ran them down Terrace Drive.
Because they just barely put those in.
Yeah, they just got them in trying to finish up one of the things Ted put on, saying, you guys have got to control this, boom, boom, boom. They come back and said, hey, we think this can control the dirt from coming off here, getting this rock and come down and settle out the rock. We got an inch and a half of rain in 20 minutes. They picked those rocks up and took them all down the road. That BMP fell. I will tell you that it did fail. It landed out down Mount Road. Once again, we're there, we go back and say, this one failed, it didn't work. You have to change something to meet this up. Now, does an engineer design that? I think Matt Lowe put that on his company he had, saying, okay, now what do we try? It is, and sometimes it's trial and error, sometimes it's not. This last time we went up and we had the issues from the inch and a half rain, and we were getting more rain, we do that. We come back and said, your stuff is not working. You have to come up with more requirement to control this whole hillside. And you gotta have more to control this. Some of your BMPs are not installed correctly. you need to have those taken. So we met with, Matt Lowe's team, we met with the, erosion control company, the SWIP program company, and we went through this whole program. Then the state came up after, and that's the report Terry got, after the state came up. It was, those failures, were pretty close to the same ones that Ted had on his. And with our new ordinance, we had the opportunity to fine, and we were fining every day until things were completed.
Is our finding fee schedule high enough to make someone like Matt Lowe?
So, right now, there is a max you can do, it's up to 1,000 per day per incident. And so you can go through and say, this is a minor, this is this much per day, this is very drastic, it's this much per day. We sent all that information to the state, after we had done that inspection, and we showed what we were doing and stuff like that. So we've been in contact with the state through this process too. And we feel like as, our inspections and how we're doing it, we're doing it by what the MS4 requires, and we're following what the state's directing. That audit we went through for the last 6.5 months, I will tell you, more than half the paperwork was contributed to Rockwell, that we had to supply, show our documentation, and all those kind of things, and we did have that. And some of the things we needed to do was change our ordinance, which we did. We wrote the ordinance so we could have more force from the city to do those. So we did that. We rewrote the ordinance, so we were able to do more and enforce more penalties. We actually did put a stop work order in that. The state came back and said, we don't think you can have that in there in the way you have it worded. So that is something we're working on now with the attorney to change it so it can be worded. This is after the state said, yes, everything will work. When we went back and we talked about some different things with the state, they said, we don't think you have the right reach to be able to legally stop work. I'll tell you as a staff, and Hanks in the meeting with me, we disagreed with them and said, we do feel like this gives us all the authority to do it. And their recommendations take it to the lawyer and make sure. And so that's what we're doing.
So Darren, Hanley, actually, it's had to start inviting him on a conversation. So you've heard and listened to the passion and emotion from the residents. We don't have the answers as a city council. What needs to be done? How can we help the residents and support them with their needs and their requests?
I mean, I'll tell you, I've been working with the developer. I've been trying to get the report. I received a letter late Friday night. And honestly, I tell you, I didn't look at it until Sunday, and I realized, oh, I got a letter from CMT. And so I didn't read it till Sunday afternoon, and I've read it probably 5 times. I don't necessarily understand everything that's in it and how they're defining things. So as soon as I came in, I sent it to our geotech. And I actually was able to talk with him a little bit today. And there are some things he would like to discuss about it in person. So he can bring up, here's everything that we've done, here's what this is saying. So there's something to have that.
Does he meet with CMT?
Does Tim meet with CMT?
Yeah, or is he, you're saying in person?
In person with me.
Just with you?
With the city, yeah, with the city to go over
And then.
their findings or their letter. Tim is the geotech we hired to.
So does he push back, or
Oh,
does
yes.
he have to push back?
Tim will push back with his recommendations. He did that through the whole process of the report. As they sent things in, to review it, and as you remember, there's a couple times he actually came to the council and we talked about different geotechnical things happening out there and what they were recommending to do and what he pushed back on. It'll do the same thing on this.
So you can see and feel that the aid is on our face. What's the next step?
I have something to say. So we have talked, you guys mentioned the land right on top of that hill, and coming from Tim, the recommendation was to not open cut near that sensitive land, because it gives it a fall line. It gives it somewhere for the water to enter and possibly slop off more. That was a no from our geotech, from the Smooth Stones geotech. I mean, we're looking at options. We've all brainstormed. We're still, I mean, we're looking, we haven't just checked this off. We're trying.
So you have to understand though, Lane and Darren, like when residents don't see anything happening, they assume nothing is happening. So how can we communicate more effectively with residents and or with the city council? How can we get this information out more effectively? Because I empathize with Swain. He's saying nothing's going on. I know personally there's stuff going on. I know personally that Darren's on the call with Geotech every probably 10 days, sending emails and like it's taking time. I get that, but what can we do differently?
I mean, honestly, I try to get the information that I feel that I can put out as soon as I have it.
Right.
I think Terry, I've tried to answer every time he's called. I've tried to help him get the information he's asked me, to him as soon as I could. I'm not trying to hide anything that the city's doing anything. And yeah, maybe there's a lot going on, that are behind the scenes that people just don't know what's happening.
Right.
And, you know, this
has
been very challenging. I'll tell you, as a brand new city manager, jumping into this has been very challenging. And do I feel for the residents? Yeah. You know what? I grew up in that area. I do feel for the residents.
So can I say something publicly? I think the worst thing that we could do as a city and or residents is to get third parties involved that just slow things down by nature. Specifically, lawyers, attorneys, and insurance people. But by nature, I think that slows the whole thing down and it makes the conversation change. Because we can't have a conversation like this if this was something that's pending lawsuit or pending litigation. We as a city council have the authority to have a closed meeting, cutting all of you out, not knowing what's going on. And so can I just publicly state that as long as we can work, I think we can work together. Let's not escalate things unnecessarily. To have an attorney sitting here and it just slows and costs way more money than anything else.
But along with what you're saying is, the reality is none of us up here, and I doubt any of you out there are professional geotechs. So to some extent, when we're asked for answers, we hesitate to answer because to some degree that can make the city liable. And it's inappropriate for a non-professional person to try and answer a technical question.
Or say something that's incorrect.
By saying something that is incorrect. So my point is that as a city council, I think, and as a city staff and mayor, we want to make this problem, we want to fix this problem. But I don't know that we have the professional expertise to solve it on our own. So we have to rely on these reports. It does, it is a little bit frustrating that it seems like it's taken forever to get the report. And I'm sure there's explanations behind that, but so I'm just trying to help you see it. I don't feel like, I know that I've read emails that say everybody rushes out to pick up the 6-inch rocks off the road because they're trying to hide it. The reality is it's inappropriate for us to leave those and allow people to come and hit and damage their cars and stuff like that. And in addition, we don't have a large budget to make the residents of the city upset to the point where we have to spend a lot of man hours and energy trying to squash, you know, rumors and all sorts of things that are going on. So at least from my perspective, I call, whenever I see those boulders or those rocks come down, I'm immediately on the phone to these guys saying, hey, somebody's got to come clean this up. And we got to do this, not in an effort to hide it, but in an effort to protect the residents of the city, to protect, you know, the city as a whole. And so I thought I'd offer that explanation to help, you know.
Can we keep this on the agenda? I think in 2 weeks, we should probably have a little more information. I know this is in Ted's and Tom's court. Tim and Ted's court. That is so funny. Tim and Ted's court. I know that the report did not present enough solutions, and I would like to see the solution that Tim recommends. So can we, as a point of action, can we put this on as an agenda item next in 2 weeks?
John, can I ask something? Just hearing Darren talk, that was helpful. It's helpful to hear those things. So I think as residents, we stand in the backyard of mud and worry. But hearing some of this logic and hearing about some ordinances and some things that are actually changing, that's helping me feel like more is being done. You asked a question about communication. Can we put that on the docket of like how we're going to be communicating all these things so that the residents can see that there's a back and forth going on, and other phone numbers that we can have are we privy to this information?
Yes.
And how can it be accessible without us having to dig? And
So
I'd love to know more.
So to be really candid, I think Terry has received a lot of information from the city. Anything that he requested, the city has provided to him without a grammar request.
Oh, I don't know. Some of them are, some of them are what they are.
But we're not hiding it, but I think you also need to.
I think you are hiding it.
I know.
It's just how can we make it accessible to everybody here so that it's available?
So 2 points. It's not accessible to us yet, like we haven't seen it. It's in their geotech, produced a report, and now we send it to our geotech so he can rebuttal it, and it's gonna go back to their geotech to rebuttal that. So it's gonna continue for a little bit. I think just knowing that, having you know that like, we haven't stopped. This is continuously been talked about, and every single time there's a best practice that fails, it's not that we're just saying, yeah, just keep building, you're fine. Like, Lane, Ted, Darren are on him constantly to get things resolved. But hand of God gives us an inch and a half of rain, and it wasn't projected, wasn't accepted. Like we don't know, but I will tell you, the engineers are trying to do the best case they can. I remember the plan, I thought it was a great idea. I didn't know personally that was turned down by our geotech. I thought it was the developer's geotech that turned it down. Come to find out, which makes sense, he doesn't want to put it in because that will then create a fault line to have more mud and hillside fall down. So let's just keep having these conversations. I don't know, well, I probably know a little bit more, but I would like to keep learning just like you do. Is that all right?
Yeah, John,
Yes.
is the going back and forth with the engineers going to soften the report?
No.
I'm a little concerned that it's gonna get whitewashed and.
So our engineer works for us. He is hired by the city to hold them accountable. So it's not gonna get white. The report that we received was pretty vanilla. it didn't have enough, from my perspective, I'm not a professional, enough benchmarks and things that need to be improved. So our geotech is gonna look at that, our expert's gonna look at it and say, no, you need to do this, 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 and this. That's the process. City council, I don't know, developers, I don't know, we have to rely on the people who do this on a daily basis.
One of the things that we were able to do was to redo our stormwater management plan and put more teeth in it. So that is something that the council could do. Something else that we are talking about coming up will be our fine and fee schedule. And, you know, is it too light for this type of development? And we need to look at that. And it's the kind of thing that we've never experienced as a city, this type of development. And so that's the next thing that will be coming up. I think one of the things that will be coming up for us is.
And the city shouldn't have any burden of cost for this.
We don't.
So the fees that you are getting from the developer should cover all of the city's costs.
They are, absolutely.
So when we want to go after this guy, when I say we, it's all of us in this room, this shouldn't be hurting the citizens of Fruit Heights, right? You've got these monies in your coffer to go after.
So when you say go after, I'm
Well, just,
making it very litigious.
I'm not gonna give my pitchfork, no, I'm saying, do we have the ability to get the reports, to get the attorney if we need it? And
So I would caution you.
Okay.
And I'll even just step back 35 minutes and say, a conversation we're having now is 180 degrees different than the conversation we were having 33 minutes ago. When residents are just standing accusing and getting mad at people and saying that we're not doing what we're supposed to, that we're failing and that you're doing a terrible job, it's gonna be received with emotion. And it's gonna be received back at you with emotion. But when we can stay calm and concise, I can tell you personally, working with a developer can go two ways. I have seen one way where he is very nice work. You ask him to get something done, and he'll get it done within 24 hours. And I can see another way, saw it firsthand. You go after him legally, nothing will happen ever. Because it's gonna go to his.
if he doesn't get a single building permit up there,
No.
things are gonna happen.
No. What I'm saying is, if you attack someone legally, if you attack someone with vinegar, you're going to get a bad response. If you work with someone with honey, you get a lot further.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So as long as we can have an open, comfortable conversation and dialogue like this, the
Would
city.
he ever get his butt in here and let us talk to him? Does he have that courage?
I don't think we can answer for him.
So let me state the fact. If you are talking to him with honey, you can get a lot further than you can with vinegar. I have had him in here many times. I actually sat on a panel for the Great Salt Lake Water Conservation. And I sat there talking, he was one of the panels, I was too, like, he is very accessible if you have an open conversation with him. But if you're sitting there attacking him, you're gonna get his attorney and nothing will happen. Well, sorry. It'll be harder to get stuff to happen when you're working litigiously.
I think kind of the frustrating part to us is that when this was all going on years ago and we had him here and we had the conversations and everything, we discussed the edge of that hill coming down. And I feel like nothing, even clear back then when we talked about it, has ever been done to help compensate for that.
So
I mean, it's been talked about, and if you guys remember, and you go back and look, it was told none of that vegetation would come off the edge. Not that that's gonna change anything, but that is all stripped, and if part of that was there, maybe it would have helped, but we've talked about how vulnerable that hill is. And you would have thought back then, steps would have been taken to help prevent that.
Okay, so.
And just so we're clear, you're talking about a meeting that wasn't in city council, right?
No, it was here. It was
Was it in
here.
city council?
Yes.
It was a cottage meeting, it wasn't recorded.
Yeah, so it wasn't. in city
No,
council.
we had a meeting here.
It was a cottage meeting that I held here with the developer.
No, it was even before that.
It was not a city council meeting. It was not a,
And
city council meeting like this.
And city council, not all city council were present, if even. So I'm just trying to make sure that we're just clear. Just that this meeting that you're talking about referencing, I'm not saying it didn't happen, I'm saying that city council wasn't present. It was a cottage meeting, and I believe that it was.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to clarify.
2 cottage meetings with the developer here in this building.
And what was shared is that they could not come within 50 feet of
No,
the
just the edge.
No, 50 feet from the edge of that hill, could not be touched.
Right.
And they had stripped it right to the edge.
That's what that was in the proposal to the development over there.
It's on his design.
Okay.
So what we're just wondering
That's
is
in
why
development.
wasn't this done, why didn't we prepare for this clear back when all of that was going, when we talked about that edge being so vulnerable?
So I'm just gonna restate that fact, that I believe the engineers are doing the best that they can. And I'm trusting the engineers are doing the best they can. I truly trust Lane and Darren and Ted are doing the best that they can. I can't state what happened 2 years ago, 4 years ago, I don't know. So if we can refrain from accusations and talk things through, I, just like you, want to see things go forward and get fixed and make it a good situation for everyone. I'm not a fan of, yes.
If
I want
we
to
got invited to this, I would imagine we'd all be on our best behavior.
Oh, I'm gonna be civil, I'll try not to rant.
I mean, it would be nice for him to come to the citizens of Fruit Heights and say, this is what I want to do for you.
So I would like to know before that meeting occurs, or if that meeting ever does occur, what your objective of the meeting is. What the outcome, what the desired outcome would be from that meeting. And once we can identify that, and once we can identify the platform of how that will be discussed, then I would consider setting up a meeting like that. But just to have them come and listen to us rant is not going to solve, other than it'll get off your chest and it'll make you feel better. But I don't know if there'll be any actionable items.
I don't feel better ranting,
Yes.
but I think a solution is what we want.
I'm going to interrupt you because I like your rants. Twice in one day, you referred to the hand of God.
I tried to talk to him with honey.
Yeah.
Didn't work. I tried to be nice.
Yeah.
And it didn't work. He
Well-
basically told me he'll haul and clean up my mess for a discounted price. He
Um,
wasn't going to take any responsibility.
I will talk to you later about
Thank you.
I would just need to, take down some solution, so this don't keep happening again.
that. I actually didn't hear what you said, so sorry.
This is what's the solution, so it doesn't happen again.
Well, I think that's what we've been talking about.
Yeah. No, yeah,
Is
and,
there actually would like to know if the developer
yeah, I would like to say, bring the developer over here, and so that way he can propose the solution what he has for future.
Candidly, I actually don't want the developer in that meeting. I'd rather have the 2 engineers in that meeting because they are the ones who know actually what to do. And the developer is going to be flapping his gums just like I am. I don't know what I can do.
We're approaching 4.5 months since that happened.
Right.
What's up with the engineers? I know they're slow, but not that slow.
I think that's something that we as a staff,
And Darren's been on, I know
I
that.
know, but I think that's something that we as a staff can keep hounding. You know, when the squeaky wheel gets the grease. I know that Darren has been talking to and pushing.
And it's back in our court now.
Yeah.
It's back in our engineer. So, we pay him, gives us a little more.
Sure.
Okay,
Well, I appreciate you.
are we okay?
Yeah.
These conversations will keep happening. We are going to keep moving on to our next agenda item, which is item number 5.3. This, I told you I appointed inappropriately the planning commission member. That we just need to go back and consent as a city council. That was my fault. I got the incorrect information from the attorney. Any other discussion on that? Great, let's move on to item number 6.1. Consent to appoint Shelley Bodley as a planning commission member. Entertain a motion for that.
I motion that we consent to appoint Shelley Bodley as a planning
Thank you, Mark.
I'll second it.
Second from Flo. Any further discussion on this?
I know nothing about her. Do
Just,
we-
just curious, why did you, what was
the
it?
applicant?
Okay,
And she actually is a really good applicant. She has a really solid background, and she came to the last planning commission meeting. Were you there?
Do you know what her background is?
Design.
I was there and I met her and she seems like a pleasant person. I just want to know what her qualifications are. I want to know what the process was.
So you've been in, different community development programs in Salt Lake, on different things down there, while she was down there.
How much do
Active in the community.
16 years. And the process went that I received her application, I reviewed it, and then sent it to Darren. Darren sent it over to Jeff Weiler and our planning commission chair. All parties said, yes, she looks like a really quality candidate. I then moved forward and told you that I made a recommendation to appoint her, which was incorrect. I should have brought her name back to you for your consent on appointing her. Okay, any further questions? So I would look for, all in favor of appointing Shelley Bodley to the planning commission, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to item 6.2, which is approve the September 3rd city council minutes. Did anyone have any corrections or anything to discuss? If not, I'll look for a motion to approve the minutes.
Haley, I had one little typo. You got it.
So just a comment, as I read through, the first comment, from the public, Dan Davidson, just the first sentence seemed like it needed to just be sharpened up just a little bit to make it more clear.
What would you recommend?
Trying to find it. What I would recommend is really just being able to listen to it again and sharpen it up. I don't, it didn't express to me exactly what.
You said it.
Yeah, it seemed as though, okay, here it is. For the past 5 years, we have engaged with policies and attitudes here, believing in eventually collaborating. That doesn't sound like I think we just need to listen to it again, sharpen it up. That's it.
So do I have a motion to table these?
I'm okay with.
Approving them?
No, you need to table it.
Okay, then I make a motion to table the approval of the city minutes.
I'll second it.
So motion from Gary and a second from Flo. Any further discussion on that? All in favor of approving the minutes?
Tabling the
All
minutes.
move it along.
I think he has to go through the approval first, since that was the first motion.
No, there was no motion approved.
Oh, there wasn't?
No, I have not had a motion approved. So all in favor of tabling the minutes until our next city council meeting? I don't have the date here. Oh, October 1st. All in favor of tabling the minutes until October 1st, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Haley, can we get those cleaned up by October 1st? Just that one comment, thank you. Calendar items, Thursday, we have the CCC training. Anything you want to say, is there anything we can do to help?
It's public, so the city's providing meat, we'll have chips and buns and everything else we're hoping somebody else brings.
Are there things specifically that you want? Just always bring something.
Yeah.
And that's innovation, correct?
Correct.
And it's at 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. Do it.
6 o'clock, and we're gonna have Ember, whatever her name is. What? Yeah, from the, she's the Dade County emergency manager.
Yes,
So she's gonna come and talk to us a little bit.
great. Is anyone not able to attend? Great, look forward to seeing all of you here. September 24th, planning commission meeting, October 1st, city council meeting. We have a couple things already on the agenda for that. We're not in a position to talk about recycling program this time, although Darren has done a pretty good job running forward with that. I'll put that on the agenda for next to have a further discussion on the recycling and the election process. City council reports.
I may not be able to attend, just.
October 1st?
For the, isn't it, this coming Thursday?
Yes.
19th.
The 19th.
I don't know if I'm gonna, if I can't be here.
Great.
I'm not sure at this point.
Great.
But I don't have anything.
Awesome. Mr. Ray?
Nothing.
Boss? Eileen?
Our cemetery committee is gonna meet next week again. Todd Stevenson is kind of been assigned to divide things up into sections, and we're gonna try to get some more firm recommendations.
Great. Awesome. Thank you. Is there anything else? Oh,
Went to the CCC meeting,
community care.
Communities That Care, which is
CTC.
different.
Yes.
CTC. And it was very interesting. They had my favorite presentation was about the brain development, and obviously that is a big deal with teenagers and drug use and alcohol and stuff. So that was my report.
I attended the talk hop, and it was put on for all educators in Davis County, so Davis County District, School District, and it was very interesting. Great information. The CTC is going to do a big push. They have a partnership with Goon. They're doing something big at the first week of the school out to help with awareness. So I think the ball is now starting to roll, and we're going to start seeing a lot more things pushed out from CTC. Do you have something there? Great. Oh, Mark, do you have anything?
The day of service was a success. First time I've ever participated in one. We had over 100 residents that came and worked on both projects that we had lined up. And I'd like to thank Lang and his team. They did a lot of prep work ahead of time. They made sure we had plenty of mulch, and in some case maybe a little bit too much mulch, but I also appreciated how they tried to move it to different areas so we didn't have to carry it so far. And then Darren stayed and ran the Bobcat down on your project, and I think that went a lot faster than trying to move it by wheelbarrows and so forth. So I appreciate him staying and doing that. But I think as you go through both of those areas, they look a heck of a lot nicer than they did a month ago.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's it.
Thank you. The only thing I'd like to say is, Lane, thank you for your staff. You and your team are doing a fantastic job. I went and tried to close the parking lot at 6:30 the morning of the service project, just so we didn't have any cars. So I was there before the sun and cars, and it was already blocked off. Whoever's Johnny on the spot, you guys are doing awesome. I know it's the porta potties at Nichols Park. I'm sure you're probably going to talk about something there, but I appreciate how quickly you and your team are on the ball with getting stuff done. Thank you. Darren, thank you for helping out so much with the day of service. That would have been a completely different project if you had not showed up and grabbed the Bobcat and moved some of those piles around, because that was awesome. That's all I have. Lane, do you have anything to talk about?
Yeah, so Orchard Store Grader project is started. It's the download carrier. Projected completion date is November 1st. And yesterday we hired a company to come clean the 1-million-gallon water tank. And they did a full inspection of the tank and cleaned 7 gallons bottle. Everything looks good. And yeah.
How did we do that without water?
So they're completely disinfected and they actually dive. They dive in, put a pump in there, and they suck out all the sediment in the bottom. Then they have a GoPro or something the videos inside the tank and.
Oh.
Yep.
So it's done full of water. Okay, that's the way it was.
Yep.
Nichols Park.
What do you want to talk about at Nichols Park?
Why do I porta potties there?
Oh, porta potties, sorry. Vandalization. We had another toilet blown up in this restroom.
Are we using, stainless steel toilets or what?
So we have stainless steel toilets, they don't flush. They do not flush how they should. And they plug up and they cause more problems than we're working on getting fire down there. We like to have cameras, automatic door locks, lock at a certain time, open at a certain time. If you see someone, call the sheriff. That's the biggest thing.
How far away are we from fire and cameras there?
They're now from last week, right? Last week, we're working on a plan to get it into the building, and then from there, we'll take it and get cameras and locks.
So are we looking at a month?
What do you think?
End of the year.
Hoping by when we open them next spring, everything ready to go, with fiber, locks, cameras.
But we are within a month of closing, turning off water in the parks and everything like that, aren't we?
Yep, we usually shut it down on October 15th.
So on the cameras, obviously you can't have them record people, except for outside, but it would, I guess, if you had an explosion, it would pick up the noise of an explosion too, right? How does this work?
Well, we'll put it up on a pole and have it shine it down on the entrances, so we can see who's going in and exiting.
But how do you know that that's the person that caused the issue?
Well, I think, so Darren and I were talking about this, if you have the camera that throws up the light, the people are gonna know they're gonna be recorded. So if they see a light come on or they see a blue light up there, they might not take a sledgehammer in there and start beating it.
I guess that's true, you see who's got the sledgehammer.
We talked about it also on the day of service, doing the same thing under the tunnel under
Right.
9. And with a sign there saying, if we get catchy, it's $5,000 fine or whatever. Just to scare people.
How does the council feel about, one of the ideas that I said is sometimes people don't paint over somebody else's work. Do we have feelings about potentially hiring or allowing people to paint, we can have a contest and have them, how we had our artwork, our chalk artwork. What if we have our citizens paint the tunnel?
So can I answer that one? So I actually met with the sheriff this last week, because this is something I put out to the sheriff to go to the counties and go to other communities and see what they're doing. And that was one of the suggestions that, I had. Let's go through and put some really nice art in there or something like that.
Yeah.
Salt Lake County has tried that. They've paid a few individuals a lot of money to come and do it. And usually within just a week or two, somebody's going to paint over the top of it with something. It's about the non-respect. He told me about the only thing that doesn't get painted on if you put a picture of somebody that's been a victim or something like that. Most of the times people do not pay over that, but
Because in Park City, they have several areas like that. Are they getting painted over?
So I reached out to as well the youth parole officer for Davis County. Got a judge in my neighborhood, got in contact with a bunch of the youth people. And what they said as well, echoing exactly what Darren said, is you can do it, but if you look at like Salt Lake County, Suicide Rock, all these big places where there's graffiti, it does not stop them. And he recommended the best thing that you can do is quickly paint over it within 24 hours, and it just discourages them.
I know in the past, we had someone that loved to paint on all of the communication posts that were out there for Comcast. And we had a citizen
that got some great paint, and she would go paint over it every time she saw it and stop.
So there's another couple of options. We put this on the Just Serve website.
Okay.
I've actually had a couple groups actually call me this week. One of them's one of the local credit unions. That they got 8 individuals that are looking for service. We do have paint now, purchase more paint. So we have plenty of paint that we can paint the whole thing probably 2 or 3 times right now. So that would be one of our options is to do that. Also talking once again with the sheriff, first of the year, I went out about it for cameras through the city, the shop, at the tunnel, on the new road up at 1800 East, at our tanks. Because everywhere that I felt that we needed security. And they said that is becoming the best deterrent that you can have. And he goes, go along with that, you have to be willing to post those faces. If you're just doing it and you're not putting those faces out for people to recognize and call out, it won't do you any good. But he
So
also
you're
says,
saying, when you get a picture, you would post that on our Kurt Heights City website and say,
yeah,
sheriff.
sheriff, do you know this individual? And they're finding that they're getting more buy-in in the community, especially when mother happens to see their child's face walking out of the tunnel at 10:30 at night and there's graffiti. They're more willing to step up and do stuff. The other thing along with cameras, are cameras that you can actually see the face. A lot of these stores, their cameras, you can't even see the person, it's a blur. And they're like, can you help us catch this individual? Well, it's a blur, you can't do it. Cameras I looked at are, 4K cameras, and those kind of things. For that reason. The other part of that is making sure, there's flashing light. Ogden has gone to this. I've actually talked to a couple of sheriffs up in Ogden, because you'll see trailers parked with the flashing light. They say when that light's flashing, there's less things happening. The minute that light's not flashing, they're still reporting and stuff. People think, oh, it's not working, and the crime started. So there's a big difference of just having a little blinking light in your camera, which you can do. People are like, oh, that was working. I'm not going to do something here.
So do we expect the cameras to be made so they can't be handled?
Yeah, so that's the other part of the cameras I was looking at. You put them at different elevations. Is there a chance of them throwing rocks at them and hitting and stuff like that? Some of them have covers over it, so they can take that vandalism and those kind of things. But part of that is waiting for our fiber. That's part of that Kaysville City grant, if you remember, right? That the city had dark fiber. Connects needs to have the fiber into the city building.
And you don't yet?
By October 15th, as part of that agreement for the grant. At that time, then I can go out and solicit a couple bids to have the right infrastructure put in here at the city building and also at our parks, our shop, at our other buildings, and those areas where we're located.
It's working well. Thank you, Darren. Anything else?
Just updating the consolidated fee schedule. I will probably have that hopefully before the next council meeting. Just waiting for some more numbers. So as soon as I get those, I'll be able to send it out so you can see it.
Excellent. Anything else? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Eileen, Gary, all in favor of adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
337.